This is an exciting video, not just because I get to tell you all about the R5 Mark II. I almost said the wrong camera name. I'm an expert, guys. Actually, I'm not, but the fun thing about this is that I have a no-named Canon representative sitting in the background to tell me when I say something wrong. And he's gonna tell me by saying, no, that's when I say something right. What happens when I say something wrong? Electric shock. All right. Here we go. Let's dive into this camera that we've all been waiting for. Let's start with the high-level overview of this camera. Of course, its predecessor, the Canon EOS R5. Gorgeous camera, one that's in my arsenal, and I've been waiting for this update for a while. As many of you have probably noticed, I have switched over to using the R6 Mark II because I've really loved the advanced autofocus technology. However, I have desperately missed the 45 megapixels that my EOS R5 had. Now, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, of course, we're having a beautiful back illuminated stacked CMOS sensor. Okay, I said it right. Now, is it CMOS or CMOS? We're gonna go CMOS. All right, it's a 45 megapixel sensor, so I'm going to be able to do one of the best, most favorite things that I do with a nice large sensor, use my 1.6 crop mode. It's one of my favorite things to do, so I don't have to bring around a 70-200 because I think that lens is heavy. I much prefer sticking my Canon RF 135 f1.8 on my R5 and then going into a 1.6 crop, still getting about a 20 megabyte file, raw file from that, and it's acting like a 212. Really fun feature. Not going to talk too much about that. What else do we want to know about this camera? Let's just take a look at it, because right off the bat, my second favorite thing that this camera features is its very own dial switch. We're going to call it a switch, guess, where we get to go from photo to video mode. This is key because the R5 had the menu button here, or the mode button, where we had to go in there and switch from photo to video. And if you're a hybrid shooter like I am, photographing and capturing video, being able to switch back and forth between the two is absolutely key. What else do we want to say about this? Man, I guess I could go into all the specs about how great the LCD screen is and the EVF and all of that, but the most fun thing in the EVF is, just like the EOS R3, this has eye control autofocus. And it's like 2 times better than what's in the R3 because it's, 2 years later? 3 years later now, right? Something like that. So that technology is even better. With a look around of my eye, of course, after calibrating the camera to my eyeball, I'm going to be able to switch focus just by moving my gaze from person to person. I like to use this in places like the wedding dance floor, where I want to focus on this crazy drunk person, then that crazy drunk person, and then maybe we'll get the couple in there. Oh, and speaking of the couple, I'm just rolling right into all the stuff I like. I'm sorry, we're just going with it because every time I think about something about this camera, I think about the new stuff and how it's going to change my life and the way that I shoot. I can register, are you ready for this? Register people's faces in the autofocus system. So what this is going to allow me to do is, maybe I throw a card in here from the engagement session I shot with a couple, or I just ask them to send me a headshot. I can throw a memory card in, from that memory card, register my couple's face, my bride, my groom, whoever, and then the camera knows to prioritize them in the autofocus. That's sick. Of course, you could always just take a picture of them that morning and then register that face. And it's pretty simple and easy to use. In fact, Nino, I took a photo of you, so shall we show the people how this works? Beep, 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 beep. Right there. You can photograph people and register, or you can register from a person on the card. So I'm going to go ahead and tap that one. And there's Nino. We're going to be using this photo for a lot more, because wait till I show you guys about the upscale feature. And then if there were more than one person in this picture, I could pick the person that I want to set here. In this case, it's just Nino with my coffee cup. Register, confirming registration. See, and now Nino, you are the camera's favorite. You're the favorite. While we're here, let me talk to you about the upscaling feature. Now, this is huge, not just for the sake of being able to take an image, a raw image that you've shot, and being able to make it bigger, but for me personally, I tend to like to shoot in a horizontal format, but social media likes me to shoot in a vertical format. Well, now that I have this upscale feature, which I'll show you what that looks like in a second, I am able to double my megapixels. All right, so while we're here, we've got this beautiful raw file. Now you can only do this with raw files, you can't do it with JPEGs. There it is. We go to blue menu number 2, and that's going to let me choose an image or a range of images to upscale. And then it just saves the new file. But look at the stats. So it's doing a 2 times horizontal and a 2 times vertical. I don't actually know what that means, but that's why Canon's here to just feed me things to say, even if I don't totally get it. So while you're looking at, this is the original raw file, 47 megabit file here, but if you were to convert it to a JPEG, it'd be somewhere around 5. But the upscaled in camera JPEG, when I switch to it, 27. That's insane. That is huge. That's going to save so many of our butts, and also go back to my favorite thing with the 1/6 crop, and kind of allow you to shoot with the lens that's not as long and still get in on the action. In my case, be unobtrusive, because I don't like being unobtrusive in a wedding. What do we want to get to next? I know you're all excited about the video stuff. Should I just get back to that? Or should we just, let's round it out and just finish talking about the autofocus. I mentioned I really loved the R6 Mark II because of that advanced autofocus. The R5, while it was awesome with autofocus, I mean, I really learned to go from one shot to AI servo because of that camera and because how well it tracked. But the R6 Mark II, being 2 years later, just became that much more aware, if you will, and it would track even better, track in the light even better. But now we have the EOS R5 Mark II, and this camera, it's like that on crack. So in addition to it being able to register faces, lock on just by looking at your gaze if you want to, and of course the functions that you're used to, touch and drag autofocus, using the joystick to autofocus, it's also that much better when you have your focus locked onto a subject and someone's crossing or something is crossing in front of them. So think, I don't know, you're locked onto your couple on the dance floor and people are dancing drunk in front of them. It's going to still stay locked on to that original subject. If that original subject leaves the frame and comes back in, it's going to anticipate them coming back. And that's just on the human side. But if you think about something like a soccer match and you've got a ball being passed from one player to the other player, it's actually anticipating that you're going to want your focus to go on to the player that's receiving the ball. That's crazy. And we still don't call it AI. I think we call it deep learning technology. I live for that sound now. Let's get into the video mode, because I know a lot of you are going to get really excited about that. In fact, I forgot to mention this video shot right here is being filmed with the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, and it is currently being filmed in C-Log 2. Yes, you're welcome. That is extremely exciting. The other really fun thing is, in addition to having slow motion at 120, we can also go to 240, but that slow motion at 120 captures audio. It does not capture audio at 240. And the audio that it captures at 120, it can be processed either way. So you can have ridiculous slow motion audio, or you can have normal audio. Is that correct? It also films up to 8K raw internal, which is extremely exciting. You can shoot whatever you want. And I know what all of you are thinking, because you know what? You know, it was a thing with the R5 where there was just a little fireball warning every once in a while when you're shooting. But if we're real quiet, we can hear something magical on the R5 Mark II. You can't see it right now because it's on the camera. We have specifically for video a battery/fan combination. Really the grip that you're used to seeing coming on the bottom, that's meant to be a vertical grip with a battery grip. Now they have one especially for videographers that has a cooling fan in it. Yes, thank you. We have a solution for the R5 Mark II. Now, can that battery grip fit on the R5? You will have to upgrade. Not that you don't want to anyway. The other cool thing about that battery grip is the way that you take the batteries out. They can be taken out while it's mounted to tripod. So yay, you don't have to swap out tripod heads while you're trying to change a battery. No, it is not hot swappable, and the cards are not hot swappable. We're trying to minimize the risk of you guys ruining a camera, right? So it has the traditional stills menu type feel, but we have custom pictures, so you can adjust the custom picture, the look, the feel of your video. It's just that much bigger and better and more similar. And if you want to, you can have, when you switch from photo to video mode, have it parallel your exposure settings. I am on a roll. Now, this has global shutter in it. There it is. I just had to throw myself under the bus somewhere. This does not have global shutter. You don't need global shutter. That can be a whole nother video. I'll make a video about that, about why you don't need global shutter, why you shouldn't have global shutter. This is sort of having to do with video. Let's talk about the hot shoe. Now, cool things about this hot shoe. First of all, it's not just the easy on and off that we had previously. We've got a lock mechanism in here where we push it down, and that's how we take it off. I haven't done it yet, so it just slides, right? Yes, good, okay, perfect. And now we have this multi-use hot shoe. Is that what's called, multi-use? Man, multifunction? Multifunction hot shoe. All right, so the multifunction hot shoe here lets us add things on here, like of course the Canon flashes, like the EL5, which I used it with. You're also able to put audio. They've partnered with Tascam for an audio device that you can put here, but the possibilities are limitless here because you're having a digital connection in your hot shoe instead of a traditional hot shoe. Now there are adapters that I believe you can put here for if you have an older flash or device that you would put so that you're getting all the functionality you can out of that. Speaking of getting all the functionality out of your camera, one thing you really need to know is how to put this back on. Guys, this is not the documentary where like you watch the lion eat the lamb and you just let me suffer here. Okay, we got it. One thing we have to note is the brand new battery. Now the battery, bink. This is a brand new battery. Now, could you put your old Canon EOS R5 battery in here? Yeah, you could, and it would take some pictures for you, but you're not going to get the full functionality out of this camera because it's just not as powerful as a battery. These batteries you can put in your older cameras, and I don't know, it's just going to give us some extra juice or something like that, and it's going to be great. But you need to update your batteries if you are going to buy this camera. That is a big one. What you won't need to update are your memory cards. Your memory card slots here, you have a CF Express card slot and an SD card slot. I've always preferred the combo. I know people are talking about the R3, right? The R3 had the same combo, and everyone's like, well, why didn't you put two CF Express cards in there? You know, I personally love having one of each. One, because cards are stinking expensive, first of all. So to buy two sets of CF Express cards, you know, it's a commitment. But also a lot of my computers and stuff, they just take an SD drive. My Canon selfie printer where I print same day edits takes an SD card. And it's just nice having that generic across the board memory card size that so many different hardware applications are going to take. So I personally like the dual card slot, one CF Express for speed, which of course you're going to need it, as well as the SD. Now, if you're using an SD card, you want to make sure it's a V90 or better, so that it can keep up with the camera. Now, you have been used to, in the EOS R5, you've got your video codecs. Is it the all-I and IPB is called the codec, right? Okay. You know, I don't know everything, people. That's why Canon is here. Okay. So you used to have your all-I and your IPB codecs, but now in conjunction with making everything a little bit more cinema friendly, hybrid photo video friendly, they have changed the names of these. Not actually changed the names of these, they just adapted what the cinema world has for the same type of codec, which is HLMNOP-QRS. TU-YMCA. So your codecs are XF-HEVCS and XF-AVCS. Plus, of course, there's MP4 and RAW. Internal RAW, guys. Oh, You know, and sometimes you want to plug in monitors, video people. You know what you're really going to like? Oh, just drum roll this. Drum roll this. Full size HDMI. We can end the video now. Now, what you won't see here is when you're using a Ninja or something, yes, your EVF goes bye-bye. But we're working on that, guys. Working on it. Most people watching this are like, what does that even matter? Nobody cares. But people care. Oh, electronic shutter. Oh, let's get into that. We didn't even talk about how fast this thing shoots yet. You have 30 frames per second electronic shutter, and mechanical is 20, 15, 14, 12. 12! I was going to say 1 next. Okay, mechanical is 12 frames per second. Naturally, with electronic shutter, that's where you're going to go when you want a really fast frames per second. And there are some really interesting perks when it comes to the electronic shutter on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. One, you can expect a lot less rolling shutter, no blackout periods, and I feel like there's, oh, you can shoot with your flash. I deserve a check mark for that. That's an exciting feature. You can shoot with your flash in electronic shutter. That's really exciting. No more back and forth if you like to shoot in electronic shutter. Now you are good and you get to just live there. Now, I personally like mechanical shutter because that's just me, because traditionally you would get a little bit more richer color out of there because it was a 14-bit file. But guess what, guys? Now your electronic shutter gives you that same 14-bit file too. So exciting. So exciting. If you're like me, you're into one shot. I am not into high speed shooting or spraying and praying. Of course, there's a time and place for that, like when you're shooting sports or children or whatever it is. Traditionally, you've been able to use one shot, and then there was a mode that it was like 3 little squares and then 3 little squares H and H plus, and you know, you really had predetermined frames per second that you were able to choose from. Now, you could dial in whatever you want. You can say, you know what I would like to shoot today in electronic shutter? I would like to shoot 18 frames per second, or maybe 23, or maybe 4. You can dial in anything you want, which is a pretty cool feature, especially if you're like me and you really want to be a little bit more precise in how you're shooting, or maybe you just don't need all 30 frames per second and you want to get a little bit lower. That's pretty exciting. This camera also has pre-recording, which means in photo mode, if you are here pressing halfway down to lock in your focus, and then you push the full shutter down and it takes a photo, what it will actually do, if you want it to, it's a function that you can turn on and off. It will pre-record for you at 1 second before you fully press down that shutter. So what does that mean? If you have your frames per second set to, I don't know, 10 frames per second, then it will pre-record 10 photos before you actually pressed the shutter button. In video mode, it's going to do the same thing. It's using temporary memory to pre-record for that second before you actually hit record. This is going to be key for when you potentially miss moments just by a split second, well, or a whole second, you'll be able to snag them, no problem. Some of the other really cool things that you're going to like on the back of your LCD that you can place there if you want to, instead of just looking at bars in the battery power, you're now able to have the actual percentage shown of battery power. You're also able to have the percentage shown of what's left on your memory card, and the temperature reading is on there as well, if you would like. Some of the other video functions, we've got zebra stripes, we've got false color, so many things that are going to be essential and really appreciated by a lot of videographers. There's so many cool features and so much to be discovered in the menu. I mean, even the touchscreen on the LCD itself is just so sleek, so smooth. You can like touch and drag your way across all the menus up and down and horizontally. It's absolutely lovely. I love that it prompts you when you first turn it on and you haven't yet. It prompts you to connect with your smartphone, which I think is really cool because I constantly use the Canon Camera Connect app and connect with my smartphone here. So it's just prompting you to do that if you haven't done it already. It has my rate button, which I love to death. And, you know, really it's ergonomically, it's almost identical to the EOS R5 with the exception of this switch right here. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same. The on-off switch is here instead of right here. Now, what's interesting about this camera, it does not have a static sync speed, if you will. If you're in normal mode, we'll call it, electronic shutter, you have 1/160th of a second. However, if you are in electronic first curtain and full frame, and most of the other crops, we'll get to the 1/6 crop in a second, you can go up to 1/320th of a second. But if you go into crop mode, which I mentioned is one of my favorite things to do with a 45 megapixel camera, you can actually go up to 1/400th of a second sync speed. I get gold stars at the end of this for tacos. There is internal denoise function in here. So in the in-camera raw processing, you're going to process it for a JPEG and then hit NR, and you can enable the neural network noise reduction for your image. So just another way where Canon is handling the processing of the image the best way it possibly can. And this gets me really excited because Lord knows what it's going to do in the future. Maybe I'll just edit all my photos for me and I won't have to sit there in Lightroom ever again. Maybe it'll upload all the photos for me one day and deliver them directly to my clients. That would be great. Put that in the notes. So you may know this already if you're a photographer that looks at any pictures. Blurry pictures are a thing, especially dragging the shutter. Dragging the shutter is a huge technique, super popular, especially in weddings. There is a feature in this camera where it will rate the images by using blur detection to determine if the photo is in focus, even if you're dragging the shutter. Like, it'll know you're attempting to drag the shutter and all that stuff is supposed to be blurry, but it's looking for the face or the object or the thing to be in focus. So it's going to do that culling for you, which goes back to my point about Canon eventually doing all my editing in camera. I like this. I like this. That's where this should go, I think. We also have a tally lamp here. It blinks red before recording and then steady red when recording. So there's a customization with the tally lamp. You could have it completely off, and then when you hit record, it's going to turn on, or you could have it blink red when you're in video mode and you're not recording, just to make sure. And then to top it off, you've got a red box around the LCD when you're recording. So like, you really know when you're recording and when you're not. So that might save you just a little bit of headache. The red light blinks when the free space on your card becomes low. Now, for all of you who bead and complained about the aperture ring on the RF35 1.4L VCM, the aperture ring not being available for photo mode, well, guess what? You can use this aperture ring, this declicked smooth aperture ring in photo mode. You're good. All right, I think we got all the things. Price, I don't know, but by the time this on July 17th gets released, price will be in the description, along with the link where if you pre-order this camera through that link, I get exactly 6 cents. I don't know. It's something like that. It is an affiliate link. It just doesn't really add up to much. What does add up to much is if you all hit like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave some comments, leave the love, leave the hate, do whatever you want, and I'll see you next time. Oh, wait a minute. Stop. There's no recording limit, guys. Guys, there's no recording limit. Okay, that's all. We're done.